possible with this, but also as informative as possible. Got a lot of questions for the people that signed up for the evening, people that responded to, with an RSVP for the evening. So I think that what I'm going to be doing here, did we start here? I think what I'm going to be doing in terms of the information I'm going to give here, this is a PowerPoint that actually was sent to me by EF Tours, who we're going to be working on with the Galapagos trip. I think we'll cover just about all the questions that we got ahead of time, but I will take questions at the end. And so I would ask that you hold those questions until we get to the end of this. I'll get through the slideshow fairly quickly, but again, and if you need me to stop and you want to write something down, please let me know. But if you could just hold like any big questions till we've kind of gotten through everything, because there's a good chance that that this will be that we'll get to this. So a couple things about this, and again, this is a slideshow that was sent to me, so I didn't create it, and I haven't practiced it, so I kind of know what's on here. And having done this before, for those of you that came in and saw the slideshow, Ms. Wilson, you missed it, but we were having the China slideshow here. Ms. Wilson was one of our chaperones on the China trip with us this past summer. This trip that we did this past summer, which was also with EF Tours, was the first time that we had ever done an international trip with Blue Ridge Virtual Governor School for the entire program. Some of the schools have done a number of international trips, Louisiana and Louisa in particular, but we had never done one where we actually put the trip on ourselves. And it was an amazing event. And so we got back, we said, okay, what's the next destination and when are we going to do it? And we realized that it would wear us out too much to do it every year. So we're gonna stick with every other year, I think, for international trips to Blue Ridge, at least for the time being. So things that we'll cover: travel. Obviously, you're interested in travel, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. You know why travel is important. We'll talk a little bit about what this tour in particular looks like, at least what I know about it so far. We'll talk a little bit about how EF Tours works, and I have traveled with them now. I've attended 2 trips to China with them, one with a group that was all adults for school administrators, one with our trip this past summer. Also done a training trip with them to Rome. They're an outstanding outfit. So we looked at several different providers. When I kind of looked through everything, I said, we know that these guys put on a really good trip. And so Ms. Wilson, I think, can speak to that as well. We saw a lot and did a lot in 9-10 days in China. So that's kind of what we would expect out of this trip as well. We'll talk a little bit about what the trip actually covers, and obviously we'll get into things like price and reservation and that stuff as well. So I think everybody here knows why we want to travel. We want to see new places, we want to see new things, just out of curiosity, and particularly I'm looking at students. How many of y'all have been out of the country? Okay, some, but not all. Okay. So, amazing experience. And I think one of the neat things about it is to go to another place, experience another culture. And one of the cool things about this, I've always traveled all my life, but I've always done it on my own. And I realized in doing some of these trips that you really get so much deeper into the culture when you have people who can guide you there. When you have people that can really take you through it and show you and explain things. And, again, in a relatively short time, you can learn an amazing amount. So that's what we're going to look for this. One thing I will talk about is that one possibility on this, aside from the regular parts of travel, is that you can potentially gain high school or college credit through this experience, and that's something that we're going to be working with EF and to be able to offer to the people that are signing up on the tour. So along with this, it is a learning experience, and I will say, for any adults that are thinking about going, one of the things that was definitely driven into my head when we did this trip in this past summer is this is not a vacation. This is a learning experience, and we do it all day long, every day, pretty much. And we put a lot of miles on the wheels. It's great because you get to experience a lot of things in a lot of depth. But it is, we had, I think, about 15, 16 students and about 5 or 6 adults on our trip this past summer. And, it's not one where you're going to say, I think I'll just take off a little time and sit by the pool and, kind of hang out. I mean, most of the places we went didn't have pools, for one thing. So it's really meant to be, it's geared towards students. I mean, adults had a fantastic time on this trip, and I think they're fantastic for adults, but it really is geared as a learning experience and not just okay, let's go someplace and see what it looks like. So a couple of things about this tour. So the tour is built around going into Quito, Ecuador, and spending like 3 or 4 days there. Kind of depends on the actual itinerary that we end up setting up, and then flying out from there to the Galapagos Islands, and from in the Galapagos Islands we go to 3 different sites. I don't know a lot about this. I've been there myself, so I can't talk a whole lot about it. But it is, what I've seen on the tour, and one of the things that I'm going to do after this is publish a link to the tour itinerary, so you can get it more in depth and see what. But essentially, we'd be able to spend 2 days on Isabel Island, 1 day on Santa Cruz, 1 day on San Cristobal, and then come back and there's a side trip to a place midnight Del Mundo, which I have no idea what that is. Of the world, something of the world. So, but usually what's happening here, obviously when we're going out to the Galapagos, they're a special kind of place. It's very, historical in some respects, but primarily, it's that whole piece of, the discoveries that took place there. And so we'd see the Charles Darwin Center and some of the other research facilities, and really spend some time looking at the science conducted out there as a primary piece. And then I think more cultural experiences would be around Quito, areas that would go close by. So, EF tours. The reason, as I said, the reason we chose EF for this is that I looked at, actually ended up looking at 4 providers. We looked at cost, we looked at itineraries, we looked at a lot of things. I'll stay close to that, Ms. Alton, thank you. She tells me not to move around too much. But we know that these guys put on a good tour, as I say. And one of the things, they are a worldwide outfit. And this came to mind when we had a student, not from our school, but one of the other groups that was on our bus who dislocated her shoulder on the bus. And they had it taken care of. I mean, they had all of us in the hotel, settled in, had the student off to the hospital, boom, 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 boom. They're very good with this kind of stuff. They know what they're doing. They're professionals. With travel and taking care of their travelers. So this is supposed to be a globe with lots of dots on it. I'm not sure why that didn't show up, but that's all of their offices. They have offices everywhere, so they're all over the place. They, as I mentioned, they're big on safety. So the way that the tour looks is you have your own, your person who is the group leader, but then they have a full-time tour director who is your on-it person all the time. They're a local. They are really knowledgeable about the areas that you're going. They're super friendly. I mean, I've done this, 3 times, and every time I've been incredibly impressed with the people who lead these tours. They're people that know how to do this well. The on-call service I mentioned. One of the things that we'll be looking at for this trip, we have a lot of teachers looking at the trip. We'll probably be looking at about a 6-to-1 student to chaperone ratio, which worked really well for us on the previous trip as well. That's a good size group to manage. They've got a couple of things. The peace of mind policy on here, and there may be another slide about this, is something that relates to, let's say something happens in terms of, a State Department travel warning, or something comes up where you go, I don't know if I really want to fly to Ecuador right now because something just happened in Ecuador. They've got essentially a program that would say, okay, if that's not going to work out for you, we can redirect that and put we can set you up with a different trip. So they're really good about that kind of stuff. Group travel, this is the other piece of this I think that we experienced quite a bit this past summer, and that is not only we had a great group that really gelled well. Not all these students knew each other before going on the trip, but we also were on the trip with other students from other schools, from California, Wisconsin, other places around the country. And so we really, as a whole group, gelled a lot. There was a lot of interaction between the students and between the adults on the trip as well. So it's a great way to travel. It also makes it more affordable, quite honestly. What EF will do is take a group and then fit them with other groups and put them together, and usually in like a bus load size group, which was I think around 45, 50, what we had on the trip last summer. And that way they're able to book everything together. They're able to bring the cost down, and it really works out well. One of the things that we have to do and have to keep in mind, and I'll talk a little bit about the dates, is it means in the trip you have to have some date flexibility. They've given us essentially a date range. because they're going to work on the booking and trying to get the best prices and things like that. So our departure window would be somewhere between the 16th of June and the 24th of June. Usually, in my experience, I think we got more solid information about 6 months out. Well, maybe it wasn't quite that long. It's more like 4 months. Can't remember. But you know, they kind of started narrowing it down and said, yeah, we think we've got it down to this week, you know, that you'll be leaving, and then we actually got a date somewhere between 4 and 6 months before the actual trip. So one of the things that you'll see when we get to the cost stuff is they have something called the Global Protection Plan. It is a traveler's insurance essentially for things like canceled flights, missed flights. If you should miss, have to bag out on the trip. I don't know all of the specific details, but it covers baggage, property, and a lot of the things in terms of the safety pieces, safety and support pieces that I mentioned as well. So that's something that is factored into the price. I believe it is something that you can opt out of when you're registering, but I would strongly suggest that you not do that when you register for travel. I mentioned the high school and college credit. Essentially, if you choose to do that option, there are EF has actually a fully accredited school unto itself, so they can issue high school credit as part of the trip itself. College credit would cost a bit more, and they gave me the prices. I think it was somewhere in the ballpark of about $170 for 3 college credits, but that is likely something that Blue Ridge would be able to cover as a, you know, because we do dual enrollment classes, and this would be something with a science bent, so it would fit into our mission. So our budget supports it, and our board would support it, which I think they would. We would be able to cover the college tuition if people were interested in doing that. Obviously, you would have to do something to get that credit while you were there. You'd have to do some journaling, some project work, some assignments. So if you're just looking to go travel, that's probably not the route to go. But if you're interested in that, that's something that I can work with EF on, and we can make that happen. So what are you responsible? The trip itself basically covers all of the transportation costs, all of the hotels, breakfast, and dinner every day. So the things that you are responsible for as a traveler would be your lunch, which in the countries that we're going to would generally be pretty reasonable. And then things like souvenirs, obviously. And then one of the expenses that we like to make sure that everybody understands up front is that there's kind of an expectation, there is an expectation that a tip will be a part of the expenses. So one of the things that we did, some of the questions that I got in had to do with fundraisers. And one of the things that we did prior to the China trip is we conducted a couple of fundraisers, and we were actually able to cover all of the tip expenses for the students who participated in the fundraisers. So not everybody took place. You know, some people said, I don't want to mess with it. But the people who actually helped out with fundraisers got credit for that. We basically did it on an hourly basis, and we divided it up depending on how much hours. And actually, quite a few of the students not only got their tips paid for, but then they got some of their souvenir money as well, because we had money left over beyond what the tips cost us. So that was just something that we can be working on as far as fundraising. I will tell you that in regard to fundraising for the trip as a whole, it was not an easy thing to do in terms of logistics, getting everybody together from all the different counties that everybody was coming from, and trying to do a collective fundraiser. We had a couple of events that were fairly successful on a small scale, but this is something where we've got a little bit more of a head start on this trip. It might be something particularly in the summertime, but I think most students would probably do best doing it on an individual basis. And EF, one of the things that they have is an actual way for, essentially, when you register for the trip, it sets up a GoFundMe page for the students who are participating. So, Christmas gifts, birthdays, things like that. That's what a lot of our students did for our prior trip. Passport and visa fees. My understanding on this trip, there would be no visa. Our last trip, we had to get a pretty expensive visa for China, but obviously you have to have a passport in place, and the trip does not cover those things. One of the things I will say this, we were scrambling about maybe 6-7 weeks before the trip because not everybody had gotten their passports or visas yet, and we were headed to a place that was really meticulous about that, and we also wanted to be able to get them back into the United States. So we really had to work on that quite a bit. That's something that we don't want to do this time. We want to make sure that everybody is squared away at least with at least a couple of months ahead of time, particularly on the passports. Again, no visa concerns that I know of for this trip, so that wouldn't be an issue. Anybody that's not a U.S. citizen? Okay, that would be traveling.
I know all of it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just we had one Chinese national with us for the trip, and it just changed things a little bit, but it was okay. Worked out well. So here's everything that actually is included. I talked about the stuff that wasn't. The stuff that is included is obviously your round trip flights. They do a really good job with buses and the transportation there. The hotels are Western style hotels, which probably, I mean, I don't know if I need to say that about Ecuador, but I sure need to say about China. But with private bathrooms, I mentioned the food, and usually they do pretty well with the food. A lot of times they like to take the groups to places where they're going to be, experiencing local culture and local food. The tour director is fantastic. What they do is at each place that you're in, they provide a local guide as well. So you've got your tour director who goes with you everywhere, and then your local guides. And the local guides are also fantastic because they are the ones with the local boots on the ground knowledge. And again, my experience with that has been really, really strong. They cover every attraction that you would go into in terms of any place that needs a ticket to get in, they get the tickets, and so it's all covered. That's all taken care of. Essentially, you just get the group together, hand out the tickets, and boom, you're in. I mentioned the deeper learning experience. That's the high school and college credit. The global protection plan, and then the tour educational itinerary, and then the tour donation page is the page that I mentioned. It's like the GoFundMe page that gets set up for each participant. So here's what it breaks down to. I know a lot of people were asking about this on the registration for the evening, and that was price. So the base price for students is $3,630, plus the global travel protection. Again, optional. Myself, I would highly recommend it. There is an early enrollment discount for a certain number of travelers, and right now we're kind of working on the group size and working on some things with that. So that's I don't want to be a commercial up here saying sign up. I want everybody to make a really good and informed decision about this. But I will say that we'll talk about it in a second. There's a limited number of slots and there's a limited amount of time, at least for the initial sign up. We may be able to extend that, but that's something that I just won't know until I know how many people are actually interested. So the early enrollment discount is $200. So if that all comes through, then the total price would be $85. And what EF does is they set up a monthly payment plan. I mean, really, so this is one thing that's not going to happen on this trip, is you're not going to get Mr. Caraway coming around shaking down students. Coming in the hallway, hey, where's it? I got way too much else to do. So we're not doing that. So it really becomes between the students and the parents and EF. And they're really good about managing this stuff. So any questions that you have, really, I didn't deal with any of those on our previous trip. Adults are a little bit more. Again, the trip is geared towards students, so there's what they call the adult supplement, so they've got that price there as well. So $233 a month for students if they've gotten the early enrollment discount, and $266 a month for adults. So here's the payment options. You can pay the full boat. You can do the automatic payment plan, and by that they say free. There's no interest on that or anything like that. You just go in, and most people just do it as like an automatic, just set up an automatic payment on a monthly basis. And I believe that out of our last trip, probably 2 or 3 people paid up front, but almost everybody was enrolled in that monthly payment. And then you can do a manual payment plan, and I think the fee has to do with the fact that then they have to kind of keep an eye on it, keep reminding you and making sure that everything's getting in. So that's why the difference between the automatic and the manual. Mentioned the tour donation page. This is what it looks like, and again, it's a lot of our students, I think on the last trip, used that as birthday and Christmas and things like that, and did some of their own fundraising efforts as well. So as of right now, this is what we have. We have the 25 slots. The enrollment window actually is going to open tomorrow, and I'll fill you in on that in just a second. And it closes February 24th. So part of the reason that we're opening it tomorrow rather than tonight is that we have a number of people that couldn't make the meeting tonight, so that's why we're recording it. We're going to post this recording tonight, give everybody a chance to watch it. Open that enrollment window tomorrow. So one of the things that I'm going to ask for those of you here, if you're pretty sure that you're strongly interested in signing up, we're going to get you to leave your email address. We've got a little quick one question form up on these computers here. Leave your email address. I will email you when that enrollment window opens up. And what I will send you is the link to enroll, or you can enroll either by computer or by phone. I'll send you the link to enroll, or the phone number, and I will send you the tour number because you'll need to have that, and then you would enroll directly with EF Tours to do that. So once we've kind of gotten through everything here, I'll give everybody the opportunity to ask questions, and then also to sign up with their emails here. So that's what's going to happen basically from here. I think that's it as far as their slideshow. What kinds of questions do you have about things that I didn't cover? Yes.
Limited to 25 students or people altogether?
Right now it's limited to 25 people altogether. One of the things they said is that if that should fill up, and we can then look at what we might be able to expand. What they're trying to do is, they've got a bunch of tours signing up right now, and they're trying to find the one, trying to fit everybody together. So, how many would you need to get on a bus? You can either do it. You can actually book a tour and get your own bus, but you have to guarantee 50 participants to do that, or something, 48, I think, or 50. And we couldn't do that, so we have to be in on the, where are we going to fit with the rest of the tours that are signing up now. But according to our representative that we're working with EF, she didn't think it would be a problem to add slots to that if we fill up on that 25.
How many do we have interested right now?
Well, we had 60 people say that they were going to show up tonight, and we definitely do not have 60 people here tonight. So it's a little tough to tell. And I know I had a couple RSVPs because I know flu is going around and stuff like that. So I think a couple people. And then, again, that's why we wanted to post the video tonight. And it's also to kind of depend on where you're coming from. It's a bit of a hike, as I know some of y'all do. What other questions? Yes.
Family members could go to this?
Yes. Okay. Yes. We had a couple of siblings. Well, one was a graduate, and then one was not. It was not a Bluebird student. Yes. First, the precedence is going to be given towards the Bluebird students, but yes. Nothing else? Okay. So again, here's kind of how this will work. What we're going to do tonight, again, if you're thinking you're seriously interested, or even just kind of interested at this point, and you want a night to think on it, go ahead and give us our email. That way I can get you. Go ahead and give us your email. That way I can get notice out to you all very quickly that the window has opened tomorrow. And again, this is not a, from our standpoint, it's not a sales job. We want people to want to go, having made that decision fully informed. I'm also, tonight I'm going to post this on. I also will be posting the information. I'll post this slideshow on tonight. So if you want to go back through any of that information, that way you've got that in reference when you go in there. Is out.
We'll also post the links on our Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't liked us on Facebook, I would encourage you to, just so you'll get the announcements, like when the windows open and everything.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're good. We're gonna get these computers kind of up, and basically it's a one-question form. Just all it's asking you for is your email address, and just click submit. Make sure it says thank you for submitting this form, and there we go. So if y'all want to do that, then please take a cookie. We have a bunch.